So earlier today, I watched the first 3 episodes of the new series Ironheart, and I shared my initial, raw, unbiased opinions in my reaction. However, now I had a look at social media. I had a look at all the criticism, the reviews, watched a lot of videos, read a lot of comments, and wow, a lot of emotions out there on this series, and mostly negative emotions. And in this video, I want to address some of the most hated things about this series and kind of give my take on these things, and also what negative criticism maybe changed my opinion on this series, but also what positive things about this series I think get missed out there in all this hate. So let's get into it. So let's start off by talking about what people actually hated about this series, or at least the first 3 episodes if we're all honest. And for me, it looked like it comes down to 3 main aspects that people hated. And the first aspect is just generally the character of Riri. The criticism basically boils down to that she's disrespectful to the legacy of Tony Stark with basically everything that she's doing, and also disrespectful to Tony Stark himself. There was a lot of criticism about a very early comment of hers, which was that, do you think Tony Stark would be Iron Man if he weren't a billionaire? And I get it, like, yeah, that comment makes absolute no sense. Like, we all know that Tony Stark became Iron Man in a cave, and he built the Iron Man suit, the arc reactor, with a box of scraps, and that he's not Iron Man because he's a billionaire. So that's like a huge criticism point, which I totally get, and it's actually a comment that came so early that I just kind of glanced over it while watching it. I didn't really even process the entire meaning of it, because yeah, it's a really stupid comment. And then of course all the other things that she wants to build the Iron Man suit to make it like publicly available, which is like probably not a good idea, and is kind of exactly what Iron Man didn't want to do. Like, the entire movie of Iron Man 2 was about not making the Iron Man suit available to the military, to the public. And of course also that she's stealing and dealing with illegal activities and endangering her friends. So yeah, not a lot of love for the character of Riri out there on social media. And it was pretty similar for me while watching. Like, I also don't like her after the first 3 episodes, and she's almost like my least favorite character in the series so far. But hearing a lot of that criticism and having those mean comments about Tony Stark that I kind of missed actually while watching did make me like her even less, because she can have a lot of negative attributes, but talking negatively about Tony Stark, it's like, just why? Just please don't have her do that. It's just not nice to see. Another big criticism point that I could also really empathize with is just the very extreme wokeness in this series. Like, we just need to take a look at the team of bad guys. Like, they're fulfilling all types of stereotypes or non-stereotypes, and that IT guy who's like a male, I don't know what, like, what even is he? And I get it, you know, it was also too much for me, and I was a bit worried while watching that, like, is this what people want to see? And I was like, oh, it's a bit too much for me, so I'm kind of happy that, many people also didn't like this. But of course, as I said in my reaction, even though it's a bit too woke for me, that's not a reason why I can't enjoy this series or won't watch it. So while it is an aspect that's not really for me, the hate on it is pretty tough out there. And before I move on to the next criticism point, staying on the topic of wokeness for another second, I actually want to read out one of my favorite comments that I really liked. Black Iron Man cheats on exams, destroys property, endangers fellow students and university staff, and steals. What did Marvel writers mean by that? So yeah, it kind of combines the wokeness and also people not liking the character of Riri. And I get it. It is kind of a strange thing that they did there. So yeah, moving on. So the third criticism point that I actually didn't even think about while watching, but it makes total sense and I totally get it, is the question of, why does Ironheart get her own series and not War Machine? You know, the best friend of Iron Man, the character that's also already part of the Avengers and has had a place in many Avengers and Iron Man movies and just never got more screen time or the love that he probably deserved with his own series and own movie. It's like, yeah, that's true. And honestly, a War Machine movie who's also a black Iron Man in that sense, it would have been, you know, it would have probably fulfilled that wokeness thing that Marvel was going for, but also sounds like a movie that I would, or series that I would have enjoyed a lot more. So yeah, totally get that criticism point, and yeah, maybe someday, who knows. And now, enough hate for now. Those were like the 3 big criticism points out there on social media, and I totally get them, like they're understandable, and yeah, also I felt them while watching. Maybe not as extreme as many people out there, but I get it. But now, you know, I always like to look at things from a positive perspective, so now let's look at some things that are actually quite good in this series that maybe people maybe overlook in all this hate or that don't get enough recognition. And I'm gonna start by actually defending the character of Riri. Although I also don't like her so far, yes, I'm gonna defend her for a second. So yes, Riri is currently a terrible character with terrible character traits that does really weird and stupid stuff after the first 3 episodes. And I didn't even really stress about it because while I also didn't like her, I just kind of wrote it off as, okay, this is the filmmakers introducing the character to us, the protagonist to us in a very flawed state, giving her a lot of room to grow throughout the series and maybe like future series that Marvel has planned. So that's why I didn't stress about it too much and wouldn't stress about it too much for now, because let's be honest, we're all judging this after like the first 1, 2, or 3 episodes. I mean, imagine watching a movie and just stopping the movie after the first 30 minutes and then ranting on about how terrible and unlikable the protagonist is. Like, yeah, that's how most movies start. Like, if we take a look at the first Thor movie, for example, that I watched recently, Thor is very unlikable in his first movie after the first 30 minutes. Because that's how, you know, character traits, character arcs are often set up, that we meet the character with a lot of flaws at the beginning. And sure, you know, that doesn't excuse the disrespectful part to Tony Stark. Like, I'm not defending that, that's horrible. I'm just defending some of her very dumb, childish, stupid actions. And I just think that we should give her like a couple more episodes, or like ideally until the end of the first season, to actually judge her character completely. I mean, imagine we would have got more backstory to Tony Stark and met him earlier in his life in the first Iron Man movie. Like, sure, that would have been a worse movie, but let's just imagine that that would have happened. At the beginning, Tony Stark was a very arrogant weapons dealer that didn't really care about the well-being of people and just was focused on earning a fortune with war. It also doesn't really sound like an especially likable character. And of course, you know, he grows a lot and we don't get that backstory, and he's kind of thrown into that cave quite immediately. So we only meet the terrible version of him very briefly. So yeah, that's why we love Tony Stark. But I'm just saying, at the beginning, he was also terrible. So let's just hope that Marvel can turn the character of Riri around and make her more likable, have her grow, make her become a better protagonist in the next couple episodes in this series. And while we're talking a lot about Riri, and because she's also getting a lot of hate on social media, I want to mention some of the characters that I actually really liked, or basically the character. So if you watch my reaction, you know, I really enjoyed the character of Joe. I like the connection that he's the son of Obadiah Stane. I would have never expected that. I mean, it doesn't really, for now at least, change his character that much, but I think it's a nice integration into the MCU. And I just thought it was funny how he was like the complete douche at the beginning, and then kind of Riri just planted that spark, that seed in his life where he was like, wait, I don't have to just blindly obey to what people want, and I can actually do the things that I want to do. And yeah, he actually ends up trying to, with the technology that he's developing, he really wants to help people. And I think that's really refreshing to see and makes him a lot more likable, especially compared to Riri, who has like very strange motivations and goals and does this illegal stuff and steals. So yeah, I really liked his character, and I'm excited to see where the series takes the character of Joe. And the third aspect that I think is quite good about this series so far, that doesn't really get mentions or is covered by all the hate and criticism, is the CGI. I think the CGI for a Marvel series is actually quite decent. Especially, I don't know if my standards have just been lowered, but we have had some movies, and also especially series of Marvel, where the CGI was just terrible, where I was sitting there and was like, what the hell is going on? Like, is this even Marvel? And with this one, sure, it's nothing special, but it never broke the immersion for me. And sure, the suit sometimes looks a bit too plasticky, but I think that's more the costume department, like when there wasn't a lot of CGI involved, but when the suit was just standing there or laying there. So overall, I think the CGI for a Marvel series actually holds up quite well in my opinion. So my final thoughts so far are that I get a lot of the criticism that's out there, and I'm also not happy with this series. I would have wished for it to be a lot better, but I guess I already went into it with very low expectations because I couldn't avoid seeing some headlines that this was supposed to be terrible. I don't think it's as terrible as many people make it out to be, but what I want to end this video on is let's give this series some more episodes time before we actually all give our final judgment. Like, we're all judging this and criticizing it after the first couple episodes. So let's see where Marvel takes this, and hopefully it will get better and improve in the next coming episodes. And yeah, hopefully we'll find out together. If you subscribe, you won't miss my upcoming reactions to episodes 4, 5, and 6. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully I'll see you there. Bye.